My name is William Robert Court. Here's another story. See this thing, dear?
Oh, yes.
That's a great big movable platform. All really thick steel, and it used to slide up and down on 4 of these big shafts. And when it was discovered by one of our engineers on vacation in France, it was laying out in the fields, getting all rusty, and they eventually decided that that would be a handy machine to have, and it was capable of squeezing 3,000 tons. You know, that's a lot of pressure. I took a 12 by 12 timber about yay high, and I put it on endways, and I worked the controls, this hydraulic control. You press a button and this huge big thing came down, and it just splintered that piece of wood into toothpicks. You know, the power was unbelievable. And they could put a big piece, see, this is a piece of steel plate, and it was 7.5 inches thick. And they would put it under this portion of the machine, and these things hanging on the bottom were the dies. They had a male and a female section. One was curved this way, and the other was curved the other way. And you put this flat steel plate in there, and you put the steel plate in, and then down it comes, and it pressed a big curve. See, a lot of these big tanks that were built, a lot of them were put into that press and made a big drum out of it. So you know, when the steel gets so thick, a standard set of rolls, you know, you could stick maybe the edge of a piece of steel in there, and there was 2 or 3 rollers, and it would roll the plate up slowly into a curl, and until you got a half, and then it rolled the other half, and then they weld the 2 halves together, and there's your drum. And it might be 100 feet long. You got to do that 10 times, you know, that sort of thing. See that big shaft up there?
Yeah.
And that's a big nut, and that's another big nut, and down at the very bottom was the same thing again, and that's how they tightened the thing into the whole big frame. So that shaft you see laying there, it's all being machined, and there's the threads, and it's all polished steel, and it was 60 odd feet long. So, and they were that big around in diameter, so you could, in 1968, I think if I'm not mistaken, this big press was all in pieces. It wasn't all together like you see it in the picture. It was all in bits and pieces laying in a field, and it was getting all rusty and grubby looking, and it was all metric. All the measurement. And they shipped the whole damn thing to the VMD. I think it cost them $500,000 or more just to get it here. Anyway, they sent all the bits and pieces into my shop and said, put it all up and get rid of all the rust and recut the threads and things like that. But our lathes, all our equipment was set up to do the Canadian sizes, not metric. And all this stuff is in metric. So we had to change a lot of the gearing on the lathes to be able to do it. And we had to make it look like new again, eh? Polish all the shiny parts and things like that. And it took hours and hours and hours. Imagine having to assemble that whole thing. You can't believe it. It's 3 or 4 times as big as this damn building. It's huge. It's mind-boggling. But you know, it's such a big job to dig a hole in the ground and put pilings down below to support all the pounding and all the pressures. Wow. was unbelievable. I believe it went down into the States.
Okay, yeah.
The last I heard, they were taking it apart after the plant had closed down. Somebody had bought it and they wanted the steel out of it. So it was going to a big scrap dealer somewhere in Seattle.
Right.
That's what the last I heard. But who knows? Maybe somebody got a look at it and think, hey, we could use that.